they are switching over to IMDG product segment. So just a few high-level points on, let's say that you've decided to use IMDG. So what should be your approach? Very high-level, 10,000 feet above, 4 points I want to share. Obviously, you've closed on the IMDG product you want to use. The very first point is you need to first close on your deployment strategy. If you have business which is across various countries, across different sites, you need to get into a deployment model strategy workshops to understand that, whether you want it to be a single node setup or a cluster setup or a multi-site setup. And which is very true for any traditional database logic also. If you were using Oracle, you may want to go for, replication, replicated, Oracle instances. Similarly, for IMDG also, you'll have to make some deployment choices as the first thing. The second thing is based on your data model, obviously you have existing data model in place. Based on your data model and based on what kind of queries you expect various source systems to make on your IMDG layer, you have to close on the object model. Because as I mentioned before, IMDG stores the data in form of objects. So you need to first close on, and there can be different strategies that, one table can map to one object, or, you may have logical set of tables which is mapping to one object. So you need to get into these kind of business conversations to understand what kind of object model would you introduce in your in-memory data grid. The third thing is you need to also talk about the data distribution strategy, because let's assume that you have it running in cluster mode. You don't want all the data to be available on all the sites or all the nodes. So IMDG products offer certain data distribution strategies like partitioned or replicated, where you can make a choice that, my data gets distributed 33% for example on 3 different nodes. So such kind of partition can be done so that, you can make optimal use of data and your resources. So once you've made, these 3 big architectural decisions, then you can get on to implement your application code and configurations for your respective IMDG product you've picked up. So I'm just going to talk about a very simple scenario where, I have seen myself, in-memory data grid being used. So this is a very typical picture of a investment bank where you have front office and middle office applications. You have risk applications on the right. You have various business orchestration layers, various data services, and at the bottom you have your data layer, which is mostly, online transaction processing databases, things like Oracle DB2. So most of the data is kind of stored here in both OLAP and OLTP kind of databases. So where does in-memory data grid fit in? So it fits in that red box which I've shown on that picture. And what can happen is that, you will have to implement certain data loaders in your IMDG, which will pick up the data from the database and make it available in memory in the decided object forms. And then your source systems, for example, in this case, your risk systems on the right, and your data services would be interacting with in-memory data grid rather than the actual relational database at the backend. So this is a very sample scenario where, in-memory data grid can make lots and lots of differences in how your systems behave and respond. Obviously, if you talk about risk calculations or if you talk about front office applications, there is a lot of expectations on response time has to be very quick. You have to see, variance of risk kind of numbers, very, very quickly. So having your data available in memory increases all this processing many folds and benefits the business. Okay. So quickly talking about, what are the various products available, which are in-memory data grids today. So I've listed certain Java products, and I've also listed two .NET products on the slide. Oracle Coherence has been the most adopted IMDG today. It has a lot of adoption rate. A lot of investment banks are using Oracle Coherence. You can go to Oracle website and read about various case studies they have. The latest in the stack is VMware Gemfire. They also offer a lot of benefits and a lot of advanced features on IMDG. Then we got GigaSpace's XAP. We have Hazelcast. We have IBM Extreme Scale, Terracotta Enterprise Suite, JBoss InfiniSpan. And on the .NET side, we have Scale-Out State Server and Apache Soft Encache. So these are the primarily, top-notch established products today in memory data grid space, and they have, good adoptions. They give a lot of, obviously some of these products, beat others in certain architectural features, and some are better in, other set of architectural features. But yes, this is the IMDG product space today, which is very prevalent and getting adopted in industries like finance, industries like airlines, industries like investment banking. Okay, so I'll go a little deeper now, and I'll talk about various generic architectural features in memory data grid software. And as I mentioned before, some of the products I just showed in my previous slide may be good at certain things, and they may have gaps in other areas, but these are the generic architectural features which most of them support in different shape and form. The very first one is data distribution. Since we are talking about huge number of data, huge volume of data here, and we're also talking about cluster mode and multi-site setups. So most of these IMDG products provide various data distribution strategies, and the primary ones are listed here, which is partition, replicated, or distributed. There are lots and lots of other variations also, which are provided by various products, which you can go and read on their websites. However, primarily, these are the ones which are used in good-sized production applications. The second one is custom serialization. So since we know that the data is going to flow over the network and stored also, so oops, sorry. The second one is serialization. So we know that the custom serialization, for example, something which Java offers is pretty good. It's been working for quite some time now. However, given the emphasis on response time here, a lot of these product companies have come up with their own custom serialization mechanisms. For example, Coherence offers POF serialization, which is much faster than Java. The normal Java serialization. Gemfire offers PDX serialization, which is its own custom serialization mechanisms. So they give you an option to either use the native serialization mechanism, or you opt for the product-based serialization mechanism. The third one is on data querying. So once the data is loaded in in-memory data grid, how would this data be queried? So most of these applications or products give support for object query language, which is very similar to SQL query, and it makes the client applications very easy to implement, because you can, OQL is very famous today, very highly adopted in various applications, and on your client side you can use OQL to fetch data from the in-memory data grid. There's one more beautiful feature which IMDG offers, which is called continuous queries. And basically continuous query is that, you may have a situation where you're filing a query which is going to return you, lots and lots of information, maybe, close to 1 million records. And by the time you're getting this information, it may happen that your data set has become stale. You may have, some other application may have added, 10,000 more entries which fits into the criteria of that query. So what happens in a normal situation is you'll end up getting 1 million queries, 1 million records in your result set. However, if you talk about the current snapshot of the database, you actually have 10,000 extra records which you missed in your query execution. So what happens in continuous queries is that there is the event-based mechanism where anything which update operations you make onto the database, some events are generated, and the events kind of call about any set of records which got deleted or any set of records which got inserted which fits into your query, and they are also adjusted before you get the results back. So this is a very beautiful concept today, which kind of says that there is zero latency when you are executing a high volume query. So IMDG products in general offer support for continuous queries also. Okay, moving on. The most important problem people get into is when they're using in-memory data grids is that since all the data has to be in the memory, normally what happens is your server startup time or load time is very high, right? So when you start off your IMDG server, it may take more than an hour to actually become available for business because it has to load volumes, huge volume of data set. And this problem cannot go away because as a model, this IMDG has to keep all the data in the memory, so this problem cannot go away. But there are custom cache bulk loaders available with IMDG which can speed up the process. And don't confuse this with high availability, because once you do these kind of things, you'll always make sure that you have a cluster set up and you're bringing one server down and the second server up in different time spans so that you don't have downtime. But yes, as a model, we need to make use of these cache bulk loading features of IMDG product so that all the data can be loaded much quicker in the server. The next one is data co-location. So normally what happens is that if you have certain tables in a database, some of those tables may be so closely related to each other that they make logical sense to be kept together on the IMDG. So in case you have a partition set up or you have a multi-node setup where you may say that I have 5 nodes in my system for IMDG, and as the data gets distributed across different 5 nodes, you would normally would like to keep the logically related data to be co-located on one node itself. So what you can do in IMDG is you can give various configurations where you can say that something like cache flow and transaction should coexist or co-locate on a single node. So it can be very easily achieved by various configurations, and your data set can be co-located based on the logical linking they have with each other and the linking you provide in the configuration files. There's one more feature which data co-location helps is on transaction management. So in case you have to maintain transaction over various type of objects, it becomes easier if you co-locate them onto one server itself. That way your transactions can be more robust and you can manage transaction very easily on a single node itself, rather than worrying about how do I manage transactions on different nodes. The next one is cache event listeners. And this is very similar to, if you have used database triggers, what you can do is you can attach certain messaging infrastructure to your triggers, and in case any database row is getting updated, deleted or created, your triggers can create certain events which you can read and do certain processing. And this is a very similar feature. In case, the only difference is in this case we are talking about in-memory data grid. So in case any data is updated in the in-memory data grid or updated, created, deleted, in-memory data grid also has a feature to create events. You can write listeners to these events so that you can do certain processing based on it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Is very similar to your database trigger based events. The next one is transaction support. Very important requirement, because now our in-memory data grid is acting as a database for us, so we have to think about concurrency, we have to think about transactions, we have to make sure our data is protected. All of these products offer transaction support with certain variations. Some of these products also offer very strong support for Spring and Hibernate based transactions. So in case you decide to load your in-memory data grid using Spring and Hibernate, what you can do is make use of Spring and Hibernate transactions itself in your data grid to make sure you have data consistency and transaction support. For example, GigaSpace is a very good product which gives a lot of support for Spring and Hibernate. The next one is indexing on the grid. Again, this is very similar to database indexing. Based on your object model on how you plan to store this information in the memory in IMDG, you can also decide on certain kind of objects you want certain indexes to be in place. Very similar concept as a traditional database, but it speeds up the process way faster because it's all happening in memory, and as soon as you make use of indexes, the response time increases even further. And there's one trade-off you'll always have to make with indexes is that you need to be very selective about what columns and or certain objects you want indexes on, because doing too much of it can actually slow down the performance. Okay, the next is failover and high availability. So all of the IMDG products, provide very strong and robust and resilient failover strategies and high availability. They have ability to run in cluster mode. They have ability to keep backups. They have abilities to do an automatic failover from one node to another node. In case you're planning to do this in a partition mode and one of the partition goes down or one of the nodes goes down, your other nodes can cover up for the data and can quickly load the data from the database. So in all, based of its cluster support and high and automatic features of failover, these products are very, very highly available, make your applications very, very highly available. The last architectural feature is authentication. Now imagine that we cannot go to our production databases and start making queries without having proper access rights. Now since our production data is now going to be available in a different layer altogether called in-memory data grids, we do need certain security aspects on it. Security can be at two levels. It can be at application level, whether you want some application to be given access to in-memory data grid. So for that you can provide a username, password kind of a basic authentication, which is very similar to a normal traditional relational database authentication. However, what you can also do is that in case you have user-based authentication requirements where you only want certain objects or certain data set to be available to the client, which is querying onto your DMG IMDG server. You can also link it to LDAP and other systems like PKCS, so that you can understand the user's profile, and then based on configuration you can give access to a limited set of data. You can also use SSL in your connection protocols so that you get transport security also. So these are the various architectural features. I'll just do a quick recap just as a heading. So we talked about data distribution, how data can be distributed across different nodes. We talked about custom serialization to make the response time even more quicker. We talked about use of OQL so that the development becomes easier and maintainable. We talked about continuous query support because we are talking about high volume of data here. So we do want a zero latency in our queries so that we get the latest and the greatest set of data. So IMDG provides support for continuous queries. It gives features like cache bulk upload so that your startup time reduces. Data co-location, you can configure on your IMDG server on what various type of tables or objects needs to be co-located on a single node, so that you can manage transactions in a better way, and so that you also don't have to do network hops if you're looking for a logical set of data. The next thing we talked about was event listeners, very much similar to Oracle trigger events, where you can get updates on any data set which got created, updated, or deleted on the IMDG. It gives you transaction supports. Some of them integrate well with Spring and Hibernate. It provides you features like indexing so that you can speed up the performance even further. Gives out-of-the-box features in terms of failover and high availability, and security aspects like